Shalom, shalom. It's that time when we get a chance to be together again and have a few minutes to process a very busy week and lots of thoughts in our heads. And I wanted to share with you something that I read on Sunday. Not a Jewish source, actually, but I believe with all of my heart that it expresses something very Jewish. Now, I read this in the New York Times, which you might think is a Jewish source, but in truth, it's not. And they have been publishing over the past few weeks and months, really, a few sort of an animated or a drawing series called Letters from Earthling. And there have been 3 of these. This is the 4th one. And it is an imaginative, creative writing piece that someone is writing to a friend in outer space, a friend in another galaxy, a letter about what's going on here on Earth. And when I read this letter, it struck me as Jewish, and I'll have to explain why in a minute, but let me share the letter with you first. To my intergalactic friend, on Earth, despite living on this gorgeous planet, humans often find themselves in conflict with one another. Looking back on our history, we know that in such times, art is a potent antidote. It helps us remember our raison d'etre and resist injustice. A department store salesman in Paris, living under Nazi occupation in the early 1940s, did just this. With a small Kodak Brownie camera hidden under his coat, he snapped at least 700 photos of the occupied city. Risking his life when outdoor photography was strictly forbidden by the Nazis, the man behind the camera was recently identified as Raoul Minot. Behind the closed doors of a photo studio, deep inside the department store where he worked, he and his wife Marta would secretly develop films between work shifts. When one's rights are stripped away, I've found that art is a helpful tool to take back control of one's sense of self. No matter how small, quiet, or private the expression, art can move the needle in fighting for our collective freedom. While it can allow artists and their surrounding communities to process present conditions, it can also have a lasting impact on how the truth is presented or serve as a means of resisting oppression. It can also inspire the way Minot and his photographs continue to do so to this very day. May every kite flown, soup seasoned, and quilt sewn push us forward into a kinder and freer world. As ever with love, Earthling. Now let me explain that for me, our Jewish project That is, all these precious holy texts, our theology, our prayers, our expressions, our art, our customs, our ceremonies, our holidays, all of it is art. All of it is a way of expressing ourselves, not in a painting necessarily per se, but with words, with ideas, with music, with stories, with prayers. Judaism is an art. When we learn and when we study and when we are involved in Jewish life, we're participating in creating the art of Judaism. Just reading or speaking a word or attending a class is part of that art, asking a question, investigating. Right now I'm preparing a class for February, beginning February 11th. It'll be an online Zoom class available to anybody in the world. But let me tell you, very much what I am going to be talking about in that class, which is titled Secrets of the Prayer Book, Secrets of the Siddur, what I will be talking about is art. The art of putting together a collection of prayers or a prayer practice, a spiritual practice that is regular, that turns out to be more art than anything else, with deep layers of understanding, deep layers of expression. The way the author finishes this little letter that I read to you from the New York Times is very telling too. For he wrote, "May every kite flown, soup seasoned, and quilt sewn push us forward into a kinder and freer world." It's the kite, the soup, and the quilt. Little expressions that give us a sense of control, that help us take back the world when we feel it slipping from our fingers. We'll conclude with the Mourner's Kaddish, Yit Gadal v'Yit Gadash Shemei Rabam, V'alma Divra Kirute V'yamlich Malchute, B'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, B'hagala v'izman Kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabam v'varach li'olam li'amei Almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitboar v'yitramam v'yidnaseh, v'yidadar v'yidaleh v'yidalal shemei d'kudisha barichu, Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata damiran b'alma v'imru Amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Olenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Thank you, friends. Have a good week.